So let's talk about JAGEX nerfing items, and let's talk about the issue that we have with JAGEX nerfing items so damn late. As of today, the news that there is going to be a rebalance, in quotes, rebalance of the Staff of Armadillo and the Animate Dead ability has been given to the RuneScape public. We all know this is to be true. It's in the patch notes, and by rebalance, I think we can safely assume this will be a nerf. The Staff of Armadillo and Animate Dead cannot be buffed. They are in a position where buffing them would be absolutely crazy, so the only other option is to see them nerfed. Now, this isn't usually a problem, and personally, I don't really see a problem with Animate Dead being nerfed overall. I think it's not too bad of a problem, so long as it doesn't completely negate the use of it. I'll address both of these later on in the video, as we'll talk about Animate Dead and we'll talk about Staff of Armadillo. But first of all, I want to just talk about JAGEX nerfing items and updates and content so late down the line overall. So we're going to start off with that. If you find this video interesting, please leave a like, sub to the channel if you are new. We are nearly at 30k subs, so it would be very appreciated, and let's go. So to start off with, we're not going to talk specifically about Animate Dead or the Staff of Armadillo, about them specifically. We are just going to be talking about JAGEX nerfing things so far down the line to begin with. Now, the reason being for this, and the reason I wanted to mention and talk about this, is because while balancing things and nerfing things and buffing things here and there is really important for the game. So important for the game, in fact, that it keeps it fresh and also feeling fair for all different combat styles as well. It's really important to do this. However, doing it so late down the line with no warning is definitely an issue. Now, when I say no warning, there's been talks of Staff of Armadillo being adjusted, and there's been talks of Animate Dead being a problem as well. But when these have been left for 2 years, then it kind of becomes a problem where you can say you should have probably done this sooner. Nerfing things so late down the line creates a couple of problems. One, it creates this fear of buying into items that are really strong for current players that are working towards new unlocks and gear, because what if it gets nerfed when I grab it? Plenty of people have been commenting on my video since putting up the patch notes today, saying that they have just saved up and they've just recently bought this gear and they've just recently unlocked Animate Dead and Crypt Bloom and the Staff of Armadillo, and now it's going to get nerfed. And they've just looked, and the prices of these items have absolutely took a nosedive as of today due to panic selling. Now, this is not to say that these prices cannot recover. They may do, depending on what the changes are. People are panic selling right now, and the prices are absolutely crashing into oblivion. The patch went live a few hours ago, and the Staff of Armadillo is down by 650 mil, according to this update from Ellie. This is absolutely insane. This is a crazy price drop, and for someone who has maybe just spent the last month to 2 months saving up their money because they're a low level PVMer, maybe they don't get to play as often as regular players do or like some other players do, and they have just spent all of that progress on buying a Staff of Armadillo just yesterday for 3.4 billion GP, just to see that the next day it drops by 650 mil and likely to be more. That kind of destroys your soul a hell of a lot. But it also gives a fear for other players in the future, like I said, to then invest money into other items that could just be nerfed because, hey, this is a really strong item, it needs to be nerfed. And there's no amount of time now that you're going to feel safe doing this. It's been 2 years. Care Pack was released in July of 2021. To be exact, it was the 26th of July. Now, for some players like myself, this isn't the end of the world. If I buy an item and it drops by 600 mil, I'm not gonna really feel that bad about it. It sucks, right? And I'm gonna be like, well, that's unfortunate. But my main concern is about the enjoyment of that item. If I have just spent 3.5 bill on a weapon and the next day it drops by, I don't know, 650 mil, and the enjoyment of the weapon is exactly the same, I'm not fussed personally because I can recover that gold pretty quickly. It's not a big deal. But for the average player, which is the majority of the audience, this is going to suck and it's going to sting and it's going to feel super, super bad. And this can affect the player count. It can make people quit the game for a while. It can maybe take extended breaks. Maybe they don't return because why? Why not? If you've just spent 3 months, 2 months, even a month or whatever, grinding out all this stuff just for it to be devalued like that, it kind of sucks big time. This happened with the Greater Ricochet, and while that wasn't the end of the world again, it's the same sort of thing. If people buy it the day before and then it gets absolutely demolished, it just feels bad. The second thing about nerfing things so damn late is it doesn't give JAGEX the excuse of saying that things are going to change in the game time to time to enhance gameplay or to just make it feel fresh. A lot of people are saying this is an MMO, it's normal for things to get rebalanced. Now, I would say this is fair and absolutely a good point to make if this was common practice, but it's not. It is very much not common practice for JAGEX to just rework weapons and change stuff 2 years down the line. It really isn't. If this was true, why do we still have the Staff of Sliske, which was absolutely trash? Because if they reworked that, that could make a nice fresh way to play the game as well. So these things just don't happen, and they have said many times that they are happy to let old content die to make room for new content. They aren't about rebalancing things to make them stay in the meta or to change the way the meta works like that. They're better off releasing new things and leaving the old things to die. That's how they've always kind of done it. Also, finally, nerfing things so far down this line can make a huge impact on the game in ways that don't necessarily correlate perfectly. For example, Crit Bloom armor is also going down in price right now, and it was last week or the week before, recently anyway, the drop table was changed for Croesus, and this made Croesus a lot less valuable to do. The commons weren't anywhere near as good, they didn't do anything with the big pages, and those have just been going up in price as less people have been doing Croesus now. Also, they made changes to the higher end rare drops as well. I believe it just devalued Croesus overall. But now with Crit Bloom dropping as well, because of the changes of Animate Dead to come, then now Croesus has been devalued yet again, which then brings that piece of content into also suffering from this too. Anyway, personally, I think rebalancing and nerfing and buffing and all these things are always incredibly important, but I also think it is incredibly important to do this early on when you can see this as a problem. Months ago, JAGEX addressed that the Staff of Armadillo was likely to be looked at. It was being looked at, it was something that they knew they wanted to give a bit of attention to. And that's fine, except that even then is way too late. Now, the issue that we have today, finally, before we move on to talking specifically my thoughts about Animate Dead and the Staff of Armadillo, is that they dropped this with no extra information. This is a big problem. Now, the changes to the Staff of Armadillo specifically, for example, may be very, very tiny. It might not be anything really to worry about. The DPS change might be very little. Maybe you're going to need to just do something very much slightly different to be able to get the same use out of it, or maybe it's going to be something absolutely huge. We don't know. But if it's something small and it's really nothing to panic about, players are still panic selling, and the price of this has already dropped by 650 million GP over a few hours and likely to keep going because of the lack of extra information. If they had said that we are planning on adding a change to the Staff of Armadillo and Animate Dead, and this is what we're thinking, then people can sort of see and think about what it's worth to them and whether it's a big deal. But if they don't, people have to assume the worst and they start selling, because a lot of people aren't going to want to hold on to this thing and think, hey, I've just bought this for 3.35 bill and now it's worth 2.7 bill. I'm also going to sell it just in case next week it's down to, like, I don't know, 1 billion GP, because people are like, holy crap, this is dead content, this is nerfed into the ground. People panic sell, the price drops, and people lose out, and this causes people to get fed up and burnt out and leave the game. Anyway, that kind of concludes my rant on nerfing things so late and why I think it's bad for the game and why it should be done sooner rather than later, and why there should be more information added with it so people can determine what they need to do, and so you don't have the panic selling like this. I'm going to take a few minutes just to talk about specifically the actual nerfs to each of these and what I think it means for the game. Okay, so we're going to start off with Animate Dead, as I think I can kind of be more positive about this one than the Staff of Armadillo. Animate Dead, in my opinion, definitely does need rebalancing. Nerfing maybe isn't the right word, I don't know, but overall, Animate Dead is too strong for some situations. Ganodermic armor costs a few million GP, and it is by far one of the strongest armor sets in the game when paired with Animate Dead. The reason being is Animate Dead just works too damn well with this level of armor. The amount of benefits you get from using, like, literally just Ganodermic and Animate Dead is absolutely crazy, and it can definitely make a world of difference. Now, Animate Dead opened up a lot of access for players into getting into PvM. It was something that let people learn different bosses that never would have even attempted in the past or never would have been able to do because they just don't have the time or effort or skill to be able to do this. And that's not a problem. This is a good thing to have access for these players into doing this. And right now a lot of players are panicking that this will likely not be the case once this update goes live. Personally, I don't think that you need to worry. I don't think JAGEX is going to make Animate Dead useless to the point where it is just dead content. I still think it is going to add damage reduction, and I still think it is going to be worthwhile noting that the damage reduction should be plenty to give you the access that you needed in the first place. Pair this with things like crippling armor and you're going to be absolutely fine, and I will promise you I will make a video on showing you that when this comes out that you can still take advantage of it somewhere. If you are someone who is looking to use Animate Dead and use tank armor and not worry about getting faster kills just so you can get kills, I will make a video showing you that you can do this without Animate Dead if you guys would like. You don't need it. If you just have crippling armor, which yes is expensive, but is crashing right now, you can use earth spells with this and still take on all these bosses that you wouldn't normally do. You're going to lose a little bit more time again, but you are still going to be able to do it and casually get through this. But I don't think Animate Dead is going to get nerfed to the point where it's irrelevant. If anything, maybe the tiers will have a restriction, maybe the damage won't be removed directly after everything else as well, meaning it's way more OP than it needs to be. Animate Dead, I think, is too strong for what it is, and it definitely does need balancing. So hopefully when it does get balanced, it gets balanced in a way that makes sense. As for the Staff of Armadyl, I personally think the Staff of Armadyl is in a position in the game right now, maybe not when it was released, but right now, where it doesn't need changing. Now, before we come back to this, maybe they are applying a nerf to the Staff of Armadyl right now because they are planning on adding some other future updates that would be absolutely insanely broken with it if they didn't do this. Now, personally, I think this is the wrong way around to go and do this, and I don't think this is how it should work, but it is definitely something that we would have to consider. Maybe the dual wield tier 95 magic is due to come out shortly. We don't know. They could drop it on us next week for all we know, but it's likely not going to happen. That being said, if they are scaling this back so that things in the future aren't ridiculously OP, then it's something to consider they could do. But going back to where I think the Staff of Armadyl is in the game right now. One, to get the most out of a Staff of Armadyl, you have to have a hell of a lot of extras to actually apply all the bonuses. For example, you need to have Biting 4, you need to have a Grimoire active, you need to have a Calgarian Demon with Scrolls active, you have to be using the correct runes and the correct spells at the right times and stacking them up, and there's quite a lot. Now, this sounds more difficult than it is in my opinion, but I've been using it for a while now, and so yeah, a lot of it is set up your staff and then just use Armadyl Battle Staff over and over again. But all of these things are expensive, and all of these things are expensive to upkeep. A Grimoire page is like 7 million GP right now for 45 minutes. That is insane cost per hour, and we're not even looking at runes or divine charge or anything like that just yet. So yes, the Staff of Armadyl is pretty simple to use, and I am happy to say magic is very, very easy to use once you've got the hang of setting up your Staff of Armadyl. It definitely is. But when you compare it in terms of DPS now to the Bow of Last Guardian, for example, in most situations the Bow of Last Guardian is on par, if not better, than the Staff of Armadyl. With the new arrows and people using it the right way and getting more understanding of it, it does more DPS with the Bow of the Last Guardian than the actual Staff of Armadyl. The upkeep cost of the bow is not also very cheap, but it is a lot cheaper in the sense that you don't need to have a Grimoire on to match the DPS. You don't need to be firing through all these runes. Yes, you are still using the arrows, but other than that, you don't really have a ton of much else to really consider. Magic is super user friendly, in my opinion. It definitely is, and the DPS on Staff of Armadyl is really good. But it is RNG, and you do have some kills where this thing falls flat on its ass and you are absolutely sat there like, holy crap, that was terrible. So personally, I don't think the Staff of Armadyl does necessarily need a nerf. Now, finally, if I had to guess the nerf that I think we're going to get for the Staff of Armadyl, and I have no insight on this, no one's told me anything, I don't have anything extra information from JAGEX, this is just purely me speculating, I would probably say they are going to put it back to what it was like when they put in the temporary fix, meaning the auto attacks from the staff, if they crit, can no longer then re-crit. if that makes sense. So if you get a crit on an auto attack, it will not then fire another auto attack. They did this because AoE was absolutely broken with it. You could use your blood barrage and every auto would then fire out another auto and it would cascade forever, right? They limited this and they fixed the AoE, but now if I could guess, they would probably stop staff auto crits from then firing more autos and getting like a good amount of DPS from there, which would be a fair nerf. It really would. You would definitely notice the difference, but we will just have to see what happens. Again, just speculation. I don't have anything confirmed. But anyway, that's it from me. I hope you found this video interesting. I wanted to get this out and just see what you guys think. And also, I don't know, I just found it an interesting topic. But what do you guys think about this whole thing? Let me know in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Sub to the channel if you are new. If you want extra content, there is a Patreon link in the description which supports the channel. You can chuck $1 over there if you want to, and you'll get access to some Patreon-only videos, and I will be continuing to post more of those there. But otherwise, channel members and patrons, thank you so much for your support, and I'll catch you all in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.